And this is the regular meeting of the school board. It is 7 p.m. And if I could, please ask Clerk Milner to take attendance for us.
Director Biermeyer.
Here.
Director Michael Mulder.
Here.
Director Zuzek is absent. And Vice Chair Dressley.
Here.
Chair Tate.
Here.
Director Bruns.
Here.
And Director Milner here.
Thank you. Now I'd like to ask all who are able to please stand and remove your headwear for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda, please.
Michael Mulder moves to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Biermeyer seconds.
Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously to approve the agenda. Next, I'd like to welcome our visitors, both in the room and online. Welcome, and thank you for your engagement in Hastings Public Schools. Next up, we have our Raider Spotlight. However, I understand we have done a little bit of shuffling with that, so we don't have anyone to join us in person, but of course we want to recognize the fact that we had our all-staff welcome back yesterday, and our staff are back in the schools and busy, and tonight was the Hastings High School open house. Last night was the middle school open house. We've got the elementary open houses going on. Everybody's busy getting back to school here. So thank you for everyone for all you do for our district. Next, we have no public commenters this evening, so we will move right into reports and discussion with the superintendent report.
Yes, so thank you. We are having a great start to our week. I do want to officially thank Mayor Mary and Chair Tate for welcoming our staff. Yesterday it was wonderful. And it was wonderful to hear the marching band. I'm so excited to see them on the field. I know they're practicing tonight, so it was wonderful. We had, as you said, lots of in attendance yesterday for our middle school open house, and I'm hearing tonight went well at the high school, so that's wonderful. Just a quick update, we have a lot of professional development happening this week for teachers as well. A lot of MTSS training happening at all levels, and then focusing on assessment at the high school or at the secondary level, including IXL training. And then we're also doing some Catalyst training at the elementary schools, along with working through our new Amplify Science curriculum, and additional Wit and Wisdom consistent PD that will take time over the years. As you know, that was the new curriculum purchase to be in compliance with the READ Act. And preschools working on creative curriculum work. So that's all being handled this week. And can't wait for next week to get our kids back. We have the Raider Set Go for K through 4 on Tuesday and Wednesday. 5th graders and 9th graders will be here on Tuesday as kind of a little introductory to their new buildings. And then everyone else at the secondary will be starting on Wednesday. And then our K through 4 will have their first actual day on Thursday, with preschool the following week on the September 8th. So looking forward to having all of our kids back and getting our season into gear. And we have a home football game tomorrow night, which I can't wait. So, and it's beautiful weather, so yeah, go Raiders.
Yeah. All right. And then I do have to give a little plug. Tomorrow night at the football game, the Little Raiders will be playing during halftime. So you get to see the little guys out there too. And girls. There's some girls on there too. All right. And next up, we have our BrightWorks presentation. So I will welcome Mr. Hodges up here.
Thank you, Chair Tate, directors of the board, and Superintendent Warkamp Herman. My name is Andrew Hodges, and I serve as the Director of Teaching and Learning for Hastings Public Schools, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I'm going to be talking about our BrightWorks contract usage here with Hastings Public Schools. BrightWorks serves in a few different capacities. I'll start with the capacity with the READ Act. The Minnesota Department of Education has contracted with BrightWorks, as well as some other regional partners throughout the state to provide a statewide system for READ Act implementation support and compliance monitoring. Our literacy and curriculum lead, Andy Larson, attends mandatory trainings throughout the school year, both for teachers and for paraprofessionals, where he receives training that he then brings back to the school district to provide to teachers. And this year he's providing training 2 sessions to paraprofessionals that is mandatory per the READ Act. This is then ensures that we are in compliance with the READ Act here in Hastings Public Schools. Additionally, BrightWorks provides a lot of other trainings for a lot of different departments throughout the school district. So this is last school year, a lot of different trainings that occurred that were attended. Now, there's also online trainings, and some of these are online trainings, some of these are in-person trainings. It's kind of a mix. So there was Compass MTSS trainings, Praxis Parapro with paraprofessionals, environmental health and safety, special education trainings, and PBIS support trainings. There's also 2 student activities that we participate in. Knowledge Bowl, we had 30 students that attended the Knowledge Bowl last year, and a big one is our Young Authors Conference that BrightWorks puts on, which we had 88 students last year attend. We do both of those every year. Young Authors is the huge one that we participate in every year. Kids are really excited about it every year, and so BrightWorks puts that on, and it's really exciting to see every year. It's also one of the pieces that a lot of our gifted and talented students from elementary attend in middle school. We don't have as much in our upper middle school for gifted and talented, so it's one of the components that we have that they continue to participate in. So one of the pieces is, should we continue on with our BrightWorks membership? And BrightWorks membership is not mandatory to have, but it's kind of functionally necessary to be a member of BrightWorks. If we're not a member of BrightWorks, it kind of puts us in a bind of trying to figure out logistically how we remain in compliance with things like the READ Act and other state requirements. We would have to figure out the training, if that training is in compliance with various legislative components and MDE requirements, and then submitting documentation that shows we are in compliance to those, that BrightWorks does for us. So our membership allows that to take place. So my recommendation would be that we continue with BrightWorks membership. And any questions?
All right. No, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and next up, we have our Pathways presentation. So, Mr. Hodges and Mr. Doran. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. Could not be more excited for this year when it comes to our pathway development. I want to give a little shout out to all the staff members and administrators over the past couple of years who have helped kind of just get this thing bubbling. This year we have true direction, and we have kind of set ourselves with a really tight timeline, a deadline of November to get all of this work done, at least the majority of this work done. So we're ready to roll out the next version of our registration guide and just start cruising. So we have made a few modifications with our pathway titles. Last year, if you remember, and you can probably see it on our registration guide, that we were kind of underneath 4 different pathways. Doing a lot of research, and this is kind of where I came from in my previous district, it really was to our advantage to kind of split apart some of that innovative technologies and industries into science and technology, or engineering, manufacturing, science and tech, because this year we are going to take all of our courses that we spent time last year relating them all to that career cluster wheel. Everything has a home. Now we're creating the sequencing from start to finish along those pathways. I'll get into that in just a minute. Feel free to jump in too. So what's happening this fall, starting September 11th, we're having a full day meeting offsite at our curriculum center with a select group of people from every department. Our counselor department is being represented, a couple of administrators, Dr. Werkamp Herman, Andrew, Maddie Winnicky from MTSS, Our college and career coordinator, Jody Geib, will be there, and just a number of folks who have kind of a passion in this area and the ability to speak to that department in those classes that we offer currently. So that Pathways team, can I skip forward just a second real quick? If you look at the left side of that screen there, again, those are the team members. We're meeting 5 times this fall with the goal of completing our sequencing and our pathway development by that November 6th date. The reason we selected that date is because we have kind of, a tight timeline with our counseling staff to get registration going. We're already talking 26, 27 for registration, so.
If I could, just real quick, some of that is ensuring that, if a student's interested in a particular career or career cluster, it shows what are exact courses those students should be taking. So if it's like an intro level course, an intermediate level course, an advanced level course, or internship style, what that progression of courses is, and having that laid out really clearly for students inside of those 5 different pathways.
The example that I keep using is we've got a lot of kids who are interested in the medical field. So we've got our entry-level biology classes, a wildlife biology class, anatomy, physiology, our brand new healthcare professions course, and beyond. So that's the kind of sequence that we're talking about. So a freshman can come in, and hopefully at some point we'll get some middle school kind of experiences for these kids, so they'll have a little more direction. That's another year or 2 down the road. When they come to the high school, I know, and I can speak with my counselor, and I'll talk about this Zello program that we have in a minute here, but basically I can lay my 4-year path out, or multiple paths out, and off-ramp and on-ramp at any point. But at least I know what courses line up with each other, and it's brilliant. Many districts are doing it and have been doing it for a while. It's proven. So our industry partners, we have had really good success connecting with a lot of business partners. We have some who are stronger than others in terms of the amount of contact we have. For instance, Alina, we have this new healthcare professions course going in, and they have been working with us since this time last year to get that developed. And all the way through the summer, we had, I don't know how many hours Ellie Gulick's spent doing that, but tours at the hospital, they're willing to come in, and doctors have been in and out of the building. So we're really utilizing a number of business partners, and I'll share a few with you here, but that is a key component of what we're doing, not just to work with them to get our kids prepared for their careers, but as we develop these classes, we need that input from them on how to make those classes industry relevant. We can take a guess, and we can use state standards on what we're supposed to be teaching, but if we don't know what our industries need out of our graduates, we're at a disadvantage. So that is the ability for them to help us develop those courses and tweak the ones that we already have is really important. And then communicate. As we go along, the progress we're making, we have to get it out there. We have to brag about it. Graham sitting behind me here was at the high school open house an hour ago? I walked him through our new anatomage table and kind of showed him that. He's got a great article coming out in the journal in a day or so, or next week. Thursday, tomorrow. Really excited just to kind of splash everywhere we can about this. So feel free to brag about us and inform people of what we're doing, because it's going to transform the high school and our student experience for sure. I'll share this a little bit. So on the right side, again, some of those partners that we're currently working with, we have a fantastic Future Workforce Alliance. That is a partnership. I'm on that team. Christy Barsh from the Chamber's on that team. Jody Geib, again, our College and Career Center coordinator. And a number of businesses meet monthly to talk about these pathways as they're being developed. In the meantime, we have them come in and do panels, mock interviews, workshops, insurance seminars with our kids from some of the members of that Workforce Alliance. Again, Align has been a huge partner. We've been working with Delta for a very long time. We have a former graduate who has been kind of coaching us along, and we send students there twice a year, and a number of our graduates are now employees there. We have I'm not sure if anybody's aware, but we have a very small orchard on the high school property. Anybody know that? So last year we worked with Hoffman and McNamara to help us kind of weed out some things and really start to tie that into our agriculture, our ag programs, and our natural landscaping type things. And then obviously Ruth and George Doffing Charitable Fund has been a huge financial sponsor for us, and really good to work with. So that's going to expand. That is a very short list right now. Imagine that filling up pages and pages of slides over the next couple of years. Anything else about that? So this Zello program, the high school has made a financial commitment to work with Zello. It is a tool that our counselors use and our teachers use with students to develop kind of a profile. We can track kids along their pathway, help guide them, and pre-program courses in as they select them to have that ready to go for registration. It helps our process a little bit so we're not missing anything. It also helps us do some career interest inventories, and we can do that multiple times a year. Our plan right now is to do it at the beginning of every year, even if a student's done it before. They're kids. Their minds, change frequently. We need to know that. And then again, helping build that sequencing of courses that a kid wants to take. We can show them how that's going to look. And then it also, along the way, helps them build portfolios. I can come out of high school with a really polished resume. I can have, my cover letters. All of those things can live in one stop shop. So Zello is going to be pretty important for us moving forward. Anything else about Zello?
Just that 8th grade is also going to be participating in that interest survey as well this fall.
Yeah. And all that information carries forward with those year to year. So again, Zello, it really is, I want to just come back to the fact that kids can off-ramp and on-ramp multiple times throughout their high school, and we know that's going to happen. We have to be prepared for it. And when we get to the end of this development, and I don't think we ever really will, but when we feel like we're getting close, what it looks like is having a number of certification opportunities for kids, whether it's tied directly to a class or we're providing opportunities maybe online, digitally for kids to certify in certain areas. A couple of these that are listed here is ServSafe. That's the ability to provide food in a safe environment, so you're certified to be a food service worker. OSHA 10 is a construction safety certification, which again, if you're gonna hire somebody out of high school with OSHA 10 or not, if we can have our kids working on that. And then obviously certified nursing assistance programs, home health aid providers, all of those things are available for kids in high school. We haven't been able to offer that truly through the high school. We can direct kids, but now we're looking to actually bring those into the courses and have kids being able to receive credit for some of those certifications. Yet to be done. So a lot going on. Are there questions we can answer?
I have a couple questions. First, I want to say, since I've been here since we had this very first conversation about this whole idea, in theory, it is just so exciting to me to see this coming to fruition and have all of these opportunities for our kids, and just to keep building on that. It's just incredible to see this. One question I have is around marketing. Do you guys, have you talked about like how to have plans for actually like communicating this not only to our community, but I think like this to me, right, we've talked about becoming a destination district. Have you thought about how do we get this message really out there?
To answer your question, yes, we've thought about it. Not a solid plan yet, and it's not my strength. I talked to Carrie Gore. We got some new images I think we shared are probably going to need some tweaking as well, just to make them pop a little more. This hasn't been advertised. It's not in our registration guide yet, but once we do, it absolutely has to be splashed, and I'm going to need some help with that. Yeah.
Yeah, marketing is not my area of expertise at all, so that's why I'm asking the question. And then I was just wondering, you mentioned partnering with these different organizations, these different companies to help develop the curriculum and everything. Are there going to be opportunities for kids like internships or job shadowing opportunities or that kind of thing as well? Is that in the plans?
Yes, and it's a big component of it, especially at those upper level classes. And I'm not sure, Dr. Werkamp, if you can speak to GSA. We've talked about that a little bit.
You mean GPS?
Sorry, GPS.
Yeah, so there is an organization out there, and we're looking into it with our partnership through 917. There's an organization out there that does work with businesses to help provide internships for kids through schools, and they do some of that legwork. So we're looking at that as an option. Also, opportunities even with our local partners of how maybe we could do some things a little bit differently, whether it's a job shadowing, an unpaid internship, or a paid one. Mm-hmm. And thinking maybe a little differently about what that could look like. So if we were to, for example, I think about our SRO conversation and how they need law enforcement, right? So that's a career pathway for our kids. So Granted, they're probably not going to do a ride along because they're not an adult, but they could at least go down to the law enforcement, go down to the police station, learn about the different occupations that are involved, that kind of thing. So you might have more formalized ones possibly with this organization if it works out, or even some of these where we just have them intern with our own community here. So I think that is definitely a goal for us because we know that when kids get to actually touch it and see it, they might also know that's not for me. Versus, you know, like I can intellectually take a biology class. It's great. I love it. I get a straight A, but I'll tell you, I had an A in biology. I like biology. It was good. I am not a science person. I mean, I'm not doing anything with science, you know? So it's just that kind of thing, the exposure to it. So we're hoping, our goal is to get all of those things. And I look at this as very much, we start, we get it, and we just constantly improve and add and learn as we go, because we're going to learn where things went really well and maybe we need to do things differently. And so it'll be this whole idea of continuous improvement and just get it better.
Awesome. Director Bruns?
First.
No,
I think
okay.
I have 3 questions, and I'll start in the order of the lowest lift and then go more board table. But Zello still offers the single college application, so you, and it can distribute that out to a bunch of colleges, correct?
Yes.
Right. Is there any conversation around making the job shadow or that career connection component a requirement for graduation? I know like ISD 194 has a similar belief around that, so it is a component of graduation. I don't know if there's an equity lens to see that through, how easy it is to complete the job shadow when it comes to contacts or transportation. So I'll pause there.
That's a great question, and we don't have plans right now to make it a requirement to graduate, to experience a true mentorship, internship kind of a thing. But it's not off the table. We get to the number of districts I've worked for in the past and worked with through my cooperative work. When you start doing kind of that capstone type requirement, unless you have the true support to get that done for, Aaron, you talked about equity with making sure every kid has access to that same experience, and it's very difficult. Transportation and cost and time and all of those things, to make that a requirement is very difficult, but again, it hasn't been part of our discussion yet.
And then lastly for me, it's preliminary, right? And a lot of it is, how do I just reuse resources in a more creative way and in a better, more engaging way that's tied to what folks want to do. But have you stumbled across anything where we're really missing this, and it would be a resource that needs to be driven into the pathways, and that maybe that becomes a part of a board conversation?
Not sure if this answers your question, but when we're starting to do this work prior to this first team meeting, we're looking at our overall course offerings, and we're very, very light when it comes to computer technology. The district, the high school just has not had. We have a media class, some photography, a gaming class that runs every few years. It doesn't get a lot of play, but right now we don't have that true computer-based pathway, and that's one of those holes that we're looking for out of this teamwork process. What do we need to start developing to make sure we have that opportunity for kids?
I think the other one is one of the largest careers in our county is healthcare professions. Now we have a class, healthcare professions, but we don't have a lot of other avenues that exist right now. So if it's one of the largest careers in our community, that's an area that we need to build upon.
A couple of nice conversations, great conversations with Alina, is that they have some space down at Regina, and some labs, some beds, gurneys, and things that they're looking to donate or let us use in partnership. That's the kind of thing that we need to get in front of our kids.
Director, Michael Mulder?
Yeah, I know that a lot of this stuff is still to be sorted out, but I have been talking to a lot of people in the community who are actually eager to offer, internships or partnerships or whatever. So this might be low hanging fruit, but is there a way that we can have some kind of intake form online where they can just send in their information and say, I'm interested in this. Once you have more information, can you send it to us? Or how do I connect these people to you guys, I guess, in a way that's not just bombarding your email?
Bombard away. We'll take it all. Yeah. Really, anybody that you're talking with, have them get in contact. I love the idea of creating that industry partner list. And I was going to mention earlier, in a previous district, one of the most impactful things that we had was a true industry partner, almost like a sponsor. We called them champions. And it was a financial commitment on both ends where the school would provide the business kids and their time and our facilities like this anatomage table. We bring those folks in to use that. And then on the other end, really it comes down to time, treasure, and talent. Very few organizations have a lot of money to give. And that's not necessarily what we're looking for, but that time with those attorneys, that time with that physician, maybe they have the gurneys and the beds and things that are expired or going out of service that we can partner with. So those are the things that really become impactful when you get that true like full-time partnership going. But if you have folks, yeah, I guess that's part of the marketing piece, and I'd love to work out a system for that.
And I appreciate you offering that suggestion, because if this really can go where it should go, we're likely going to have somebody be a point person, right? Where part of their work is to navigate all this. And so part of their work is going to be, maybe it is an online intake form, and then they can reach out, and they're the ones that are going to have to do all of that. If you look at some other districts that have this really robust career pathways, they generally have a point person that's handling this. So eventually, we'd like to be able to get to that point. And I believe there too, can help with that communication and the marketing, right? And looking for some support in that, because we're all in education, we're not in marketing, but we need to figure that out. So yeah, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, Director Miller.
I have a couple questions as well. So one of the things on getting more people involved in partnering, just even putting that in the Radar update, because I think that's really well read. And, so if you put a little description in there and just say, we're looking for businesses, we're looking for people who want to mentor students and, get involved in some way, and then, figuring out that way to capture their info. And similar for like the panels you talked about and interviews and things like that. I know I was asked in prior years, and I loved that. That was so fun to do. And now I just haven't for a long time. So it's good to hear that it's still going on. But yeah, I think that's another good opportunity for our students. And a curiosity question, is there a cost per test then as it's taken by our students, or how do we pay for Zello?
So Zello, there's no cost per test. We pay per student for Zello. So it's similar to like how we pay for FastBridge, how we pay for anything else. So we pay for it once per year.
It's a subscription.
Yeah, subscription model.
So if a student, like you said, they change their minds all the time. So if they took it at the beginning of the year and then come April, they're like, I think I need to take that again because I didn't really love my last year. What should I do next year? They can take that again. And then lastly, because I'm thinking of my own family and how differently I communicate with each of my students, what's the parent partnership in this? Once a student takes it, does a parent know, hey, they're really strong in this category, it looks like we're heading this direction, or is there not a lot of communication for the parents?
Great question. I actually don't know what the parents, I know they can log in through their student's Zello account. I don't know if there's any parent oversight, but if we're thinking down that line, we can have information going home with students very easily, multiple times per year. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, wasn't thinking down that line.
I mean, just thinking of my own students, I'm pretty sure 2 of them would not even tell me they took the test, nor the results, and the other 2 would tell me all about it and more. So some way to make sure parents are aware that their students are doing this cool opportunity.
One other piece too is we do communicate with families when it comes to registration time. The kids come in and they do worksheets, and then this is kind of the course load I'm thinking about taking. That goes home for parents to review before we sign those kids up for next year.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much. Exciting stuff. All right, next on our agenda, we have a building construction fund project update. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So the Building Construction Fund accounts for the money the district received from the voter-approved bonds for school renovations and improvements. There have not been a lot of updates since last month. We are still just trying to kind of finish out these last few projects. So overall in the fund, there's $600,283. And then in the unallocated, there's $397,000 that we are currently holding for the arbitrage payment that's coming up. And I can take any questions if there are any.
I am wondering, I saw on here that there was, the middle school pod redesign is still unfinished on here. Do you know what work is left to be done in that project?
Yes, so there's a science classroom that was getting new cabinetry, and that is in, but we just don't have all the final paperwork yet. So it's ready for the school year, just waiting on the paperwork piece.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Next up, we have our legal data request update with Ms. Moen.
Good evening. Since the last board meeting, we have had one new data request. We currently have none pending. They have all been updated. And the legal bills for this last month were at $14.99 related to data requests.
Thank you. Were any anonymous?
No.
Curious. Okay,
Can I
thank you.
clarify? That's $1,499.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay.
It'd be nice if it was $14.99, but thank you. Appreciate that. Next up, we have our school perceptions survey timeline and discussion.
So I was able to meet with Darren Sievers and, can you hear me okay? And we put together very, very similar to last year. Felt that worked well, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't just follow that same process. He is willing to come to September 10th, and that's where we'll look at those initial drafts. I'm going to ask the board to consider adding, there are about, I don't know, a few, it's 3 or 4, not a lot of questions about what would you, if you were to give the new superintendent advice, what would that be? And give just a few questions around that, and I'm looking for that to be added, because I think that'll help me know what our constituents want, whether it's staff or students, et cetera. So other than that, not much change. And of course, if the board looks at it again and this year says, wonder if we should do something different with a question, we can absolutely do that and have that discussion on the 10th. So I don't know if anyone has questions or concerns about those dates, but it's very similar.
I think it looks good.
And then on the 10th, he would attend virtually to our work session. It's a little less costly.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. I think it's an invaluable tool. I really do, for continuous improvement. So appreciate that opportunity to get the feedback. Next up, we have our school board representative and committee updates. First up is 917, and Director Zuzik is not here. Assuming everyone had a chance to read through the report, and it's obviously available online for the public to review as well. So moving on then to the AMSD update with Director Bruns.
Yeah, this meeting was really the last of the summer meetings that are more about organizing, but we had a new executive director seated. Some bullet points they brought up that I think are important to us. 3 upcoming special elections this November will determine control of the Minnesota House and the Senate, so you'll want to monitor that. Initial revenues are coming in almost $1 billion above projections, so the doom and gloom that we got was nice, where you're going, okay, let's reset, but there's some positivity coming around. Federal funding streams that were frozen are now moving, but that feels like old news now, considering that this meeting was August 1st. And then they're waiting for clarity around the existence of a federal Department of Education and what that might mean moving forward, whether it exists but there's no personnel, or whether it exists at all. I do want to highlight the guest speakers that they had. They're from a nonprofit called Good Trouble, really run by 2 young 20-year-old kids and then some other personnel around them. They remind me of some folks that I worked with at the high school age, but their work is around bringing student voice into academics and what the school environment does for learning, like with a capital L, and then what the environment is shaped for them. And so they work with school staff, especially around MTSS teams, to bring in students and survey. And we have those survey results, and then use it to inform what programming is. Their whole goal is to get kids off screens and off streets. And so they are really a well-spoken young group of people, and I think that helps them with that polish get in and really share their experience and their knowledge and make those connections with districts. But certainly a great group for any district to connect with.
Thank you. Any questions? right. Next up, we have the Community Collaboration Committee update from Director Milner.
We have not met since our last meeting.
Okay. Are you guys planning, do you know if you're planning on meeting soon?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to
something on
talk,
the calendar? Okay.
talk tonight. Yep, get some dates.
Okay, sounds great. Next up, we have our Facilities, Finance, and Joint Powers Committee meeting, which is typically Director Zuzik. He is obviously not here again, but I can do a brief summary since I was there. We had a meeting with the Joint Powers Committee on Monday, August 11th, and we talked about several things. We talked about the trail at the Kennedy Elementary easement. There were some concerns about the solar array project and how that impacts with that trail and that kind of thing. So they are going to review the map and revise language and let us know what's going on with that when it's the right time. Next, we talked about our school resource officer situation. Tonight, we are supposed to vote on an updated contract. Basically, because they are short-staffed in the city, they don't have the SRO to give us full time at the beginning of the school year, so their plan was to have him start for the first 2 weeks of the school year, kind of to train in with Officer Freeman and get to know the school and the layout and some of the personnel and students and all that good stuff, and then would hopefully come back when they are fully staffed. Hopefully, he said best case would be, I think, December. Worst case, most likely, would be January. So there's that. We also spoke about the Civic Arena lease agreement, and ultimately, they are proposing that we get a $55 surcharge on top of, I should say, per hour, $55 an hour surcharge that they are not going to give anyone else or charge anyone else. So ultimately, last year we were charged $230 an hour. They already raised the rates to $260. Now they're talking about $270 plus the 55. So it's going from $230 an hour to $325 an hour just for the school district. So basically, in the end, we asked that they reconsider that and more fairly distribute the fees that they are looking to collect for their roof and refrigeration system project. And we also talked about the Joint Powers Agreement legal documents. Folks know that the Joint Powers Committee had not met for years, and the contracts had really not been reviewed for many years. So we spent quite a bit of time as a committee going through those documents. They have been finalized for a while, and so the city is having their attorney review those. Hopefully we should be getting those back soon to have our legal look at them, and the hope is that both parties would vote on those documents by the end of September. So that was that meeting. I don't believe we have any finance. We might have them on the calendar. Sorry, I don't know off the top of my head if we have future ones scheduled or not for the finance or the facilities, but we do have October 20th and 27th as possibilities for the next Joint Powers meeting. So. All right, any questions? Okay, next up, we've got our NAPAC committee update with Director Bruns again.
Relatively light as they get ready to walk into election. So they actually had met the week before this meeting on the 14th to discuss their own bylaws, but they are looking to vote within for a new chair and new secretary. They did share that the Native American Education Liaison candidate, the initial one, declined the offer. And I'm not sure if there's been any change.
Yeah, we have other candidates. We haven't started the interview. They're trying to coordinate schedules.
Yeah, and that can be really difficult. And then this is the same question because I just want to bring back just a form of clarity, but communicating the curriculum committee involvement to families, is there something that's really streamlined or a person they should reach out to if they're interested in being a part of that?
I believe it's Andrew Hodges right there.
All right, I'll have him bother you.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, next up, we have our Student School Board Committee update from Director Bruns again.
We meet tomorrow with candidates, and for those that won't make it, we'll set up one-on-one sessions with their mentor so they're prepared for work sessions and what to expect at the board table and what to expect at their first one when they're seated.
Awesome, we're excited to have them join us next month. Okay, next up is the Policy Committee update with Vice Chair Dressley.
So this month, the policy committee met twice. First reading, policies for first reading, forms and procedures that were updated and revised. We'll start there. 506, student discipline. This is an annual review policy. The first revision was based on MSBA model policy, and the second is Hastings specific revision. So in section 7A, throughout the section, we replaced the school district's a blank policy with ISD 200, giving the policy name and number. And all the rest of the corrections were for statutory reference. Policy 602, organization of the school calendar and school day. The committee discussed adding some language. This is actually going to come back to the committee in September because based on current employee contracts, we need to take another look at this. So there will be changes for second reading. Policy 722, public data requests. We added the responsible authority to both 722 and 721.1, or 721.1, the 722.1, the form for public data requests. We also added the paragraph in 4C regarding the responsible authority's ability to suspend an ongoing response if the requesting person doesn't appear to review or inspect the information they're requesting. Any questions on those?
Can I ask a question of Ms. Moen real quick? Have we had recently good response with folks who are making the Minnesota data practices requests? Are they coming in to actually review the data now?
We have had good response. The majority of them, though, have been electronic submission. So when we do the electronic, when I provide the data electronically, they pay the actual cost of the labor to do the work. So it's just billed a little different, but they've been, the last 2 or 3 have been electronic.
Okay, thank you. All right, sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
903, visitors to school district buildings and sites. The committee discussed replacing the board with the district throughout the policy. There was also replacement of that the school district administration shall establish a procedure with established procedures and requirements for visitors and post-secondary option students are outlined in 903.1 PR, visitor procedure. There is also addition to that, there will be a charged parking fee at a prorated amount for PSEO students. 90 questions? Nope. 903.1, visitor procedure. Building administration created this procedure to implement consistency across all district buildings. The procedure was included in the student handbook and will also be included on our district website. Since that's a procedure that'll go in the consent agenda. I'm sorry, I didn't mention this before, but 722.1 form, public data request will also be in the consent agenda for adoption tonight. We don't have any second reading, correction. We have second reading for sunset policies and nothing has changed with either of those policies. We're still recommending that they be sunset or removed from our policy manual. Third reading updates 601 school district curriculum and instructional goals. This one is coming back to the policy committee in September for additional recommendations before we move through with adoption or possibly back to first reading. We don't know where that's going to land yet, but 620 credit for learning in both of the sections documented. We just added 5 credits, and we had talked about that during the first reading that we would enter in the number of credits. Any questions on any?
I just want to reiterate one more time, if you could, for the public, why are we recommending that we have 2 policies to sunset?
So when we started reviewing the 600 series policies, we noticed that there was a lot of redundancy, and with 5 or 6 policies referring to or using language directly out of the CARC, CACR statute. So we just wanted to make it more streamlined, make it more clear. So that's why those policies are being eliminated. There's a lot of crossover into other policies, and it does dictate in policy 601 and 603 that language is included in those policies at the bottom. So
thank you for that.
Yep.
All right, any other questions on policy? All right. Next up is our agenda items. So first, I am looking for a motion on the consent agenda.
Michael Mulder moves to approve the consent agenda. Is that the right terminology to use?
Milner second.
Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously to approve the consent agenda. Next, we're moving on to our items for individual action. First up is a resolution for the acceptance of donations.
And so I would like to make a motion to approve the acceptance of the donations with the exception of the donation from the Hastings Middle School PTA. I would like to remove that from our donation acceptance.
And the reason is?
Some background is we're not allowed, as a district, we're not allowed to gift individuals any portion of money that goes into our district general fund. It's just not something we can do. And this was as a gift, or it was a donation for a student to have all of their marching band stuff paid for.
So we're not allowed, legally, we can't accept it. So, go ahead.
And I'd like to, do I waive the reading? You can. Yeah, and waive the reading of the resolution.
All right, could I get a second, please?
Biermeyer, second.
All right, any discussion? All right, seeing none, the motion on the table, as a reminder, is to accept all of the donations with the exception of the middle school PTA donation. Could I please get a roll call vote? Director Milner.
Director Biermeyer.
Aye.
Director Michael Mulder.
Aye.
Vice Chair Dressley.
Aye.
Chair Tate.
Aye.
Director Bruns.
Aye.
Director Milner, aye.
Thank you. And again, we'd like to thank our community for their generosity and donations towards the Hastings Public School District. Appreciate it. Next up, we have the superintendent goals for 25-26. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, I can so you can kind of see where we'd made some adjustments from the work session. So if you look at the superintendent goal 3, increase business and our community partnerships, we have 5 formal. I think there's asked for some data pieces. So I'll run us through at the beginning to end here in a minute, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about those and removing of the discipline piece out of the goal number 4. So basically these 5 goals align to the 5 pillars. And so we look at the first one, and we're going to improve student outcomes through data-driven, equitable instruction. So that then shows the strategic pillars that particular goal aligns to, and it's academic excellence and equity and belonging. And then list the action items that would take place in order to achieve the goal. Some of the action, you might have more that happen, but this is ones that we would really be focusing on. And so then you go into the progress indicators. And so how do we know we did okay and met those goals? And so we did that with all the second goals around strengthen teaching and leadership through professional learning. And there again ties to academic excellence and staff empowerment, talking about PD offerings, classroom, what the satisfaction of the person receiving the professional development, and then this actual implementation into the classroom. And then also looking at revisiting our current TD&E plan and making adjustments that we feel might be better for teachers and administrators together for what our outcomes are going to look for with students. And then expanding the pathways and the real world readiness. So we had a pathways presentation tonight talking about increasing those business and community partnerships, talking about that course progression work as another action item. And then again, the Zello opportunity for 8th grade and high school juniors and seniors getting access to job shadowing, occupational visits and such. And then the team coming together and putting that work together with that course progression so that the actual course catalog aligns nicely with that language. And again, I see that as being really a constant update. Like I really feel like that's something you're going to revisit every year. It might be adding classes, or it might not. I don't know, but I just feel like that's an evolving process. And I don't know that I don't think we should think of it as ever done. I really feel like this is ongoing work that we do, which is hard for me because sometimes I'm a test person. I'm like, oh, done, but not this. This is ongoing. So implement and monitor district-wide practices and ensure emotional and physical safety. And so this is talking about making sure we're practicing our safety protocols. You know, my heart goes out to the families today in the school in Minneapolis that had the shooting, and I just can't imagine what they're going through right now. And we want to ensure that our schools are safe for our kids and our staff every single day. And so I really want to thank our chief of police. He contacted me today, and they will be having additional patrols out at the beginning and end of school next week, just for reassurance. That was an isolated incident, but we just need people to feel good. And we have to ensure that we're following our protocols and have ongoing training and reminders. And, you know, we did do the reunification training, and I felt that was really good, positive, exactly the kind of stuff we have to do. And we just pray that this never, ever happens. So we will also have posted behavior expectations in our buildings so that kids can know exactly what's there. And, you know, you can always point to a sign and it actually can work. Remember, that's what you're not supposed to do, and you don't always have to say it. Even with adults, that can work, believe it or not. And then targeted professional development to help strengthen the student-staff relationships. And we do that through our Catalyst programming at the elementary, through our AVID at the middle school, CEIS plan that's going to, you know, we're working through. So, and then we have ensure effective, transparent, and aligned operations. And so we're going to be working with all the department managers, looking at refining our long-term financial plan. And I really want to see us as a team looking out 10 years and just kind of each year, what do we think we're going to probably have coming at us in these next few years, and try to do our best to, as much as you can, plan. We know things happen that we have zero control over, but this will at least help us create some sort of an awareness of what the expectations are. And it can then help the board. So the board can come see this and know where we are headed as a district. And I think it will make the board feel, my hope would be, oh yeah, we have a plan. We're not just doing something just is coming up. We know that we use BenQ boards. They're a different name here, but they're like the smart boards. We know that we're gonna have a replacement cycle. Well, let's have it somewhere that we can see it all on one page, you know, so we all know. My plan will be to take and Ellers can provide this for us. We'll get a couple of snapshots of, one will be of our bonds, the two different bonds that we have, and then the other one will be of our operating referendums. And then they're gonna show when those drop off. So you're gonna know with your bonds, they stop, board knows that's coming. You can make some decisions and you can do nothing. You could maybe try for another bond if you had some need for it. But it gives you a timeline of when this is gonna happen in a picture form. It's really nice. The other one with the operating referendums also gives you the clue, yeah, we have this one that's ending. Does the board want to approve another one? Do we have to go out and ask because we want to increase? What does that look like? But at least you have it there all the time and you can see when it's coming. At least that was extremely helpful to me when I implemented it in my last district, and I think it will help us. So we'll go ahead and work toward that, along with continually working with budget managers to ensure that they understand how to effectively manage their budgets. They know how to effectively handle when unexpected expenses come, and start to think creatively. And it won't just be superintendent, business managers, the one talking about things. It needs to be the team. I think it's really helpful, and I think the better we do that, the more we prepare our leaders for the next level. So if they want to move into a business manager position, they want to move into a superintendent position, they have some of that background. So that's the goals. You have it there in writing. But any questions or ideas or thoughts?
Vice Chair Harrison.
I just want to say thank you for how thoughtfully you aligned your goals with our strategic plan, and your inclusion of the student outcome focus really shows that you understand what the board's intent was with our strategic plan. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All right. Yeah, I think these are fantastic. Thank you. All right, with that, I am looking for a motion on this item.
I make a motion to approve the superintendent goals.
Biermeyer seconds.
Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the superintendent goals, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously to approve the superintendent goals. And next up, we have our 2025, well, it's actually not 2025, it's our 3-year school board governance work plan. We put this together at our last work session, and it too aligns to our strategic plan. You can see it has the academic excellence, equity and belonging, safe, supportive and engaging environments, staff empowerment and retention, and effective and responsive operations. I'm not going to walk through this in detail. Anyone who wants to see it, it's obviously online in board book. And then we do have the additions. So it basically would mean that we would take this, what we have for the 2025 and 26 school year, and then add the things at the bottom to the 26, 27, 27, 28, and 28, 29 school years for our work plan. Anybody else have anything they want to contribute on this? All right. With that, I am looking for a motion on this item.
Director Biermeyer has a motion to approve the school board 3-year work plan.
Thank you.
Second, Dressley.
All right, any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously to approve the school board 3-year work plan. And next up, we have our SRO contract. On this one, I would like to request that we start with discussion versus going right to the motion. So, I know I have a couple of things I'd like to say, but does anyone else have anything that they'd like to contribute first? You're smiling at me.
So I did, but I think my things are answered now with the second part of the email we received. But I was just concerned, obviously we don't want to be paying for services that we're not receiving, and that was my concern, but I think that alleviates, the new language alleviates that, so.
First, I was thinking about recommending that we try to put some kind of cap on how many 30-day periods reassignment happens, but acknowledging that, you know, our police force is a really important force, and obviously our partnership and the service that they do out in the community is equally as important. I especially, as you mentioned, the events that happened today, this is just kind of at the forefront of everybody's mind and heart. And I know it typically is, but today is just heightened for obvious reasons. So I guess in light of that, I'm trying to think of, you know, when these 30-day reassignments happen, how can we ensure that we still have like a protective eye on the school? And this might be a question out of ignorance of what other formalities are in place, but noting that, you know, in statute, there's the capacity for somebody else to step into this position that would be one of our employees. I guess my question is, do we have training? Do we have a lineup of who could be a backup in these reassignment periods? Or what do we do during these reassignment periods to make sure that we have some kind of boots on the ground to ensure safety?
Thank you for your question. Well, we don't have our staff that acts as an SRO because they're in a different capacity. However, now that you have two, we would hope they would never pull two at the same time, because one would then do what they've done in the past, which is spend time at both schools. Yeah, it's a great question. I've not seen in my past experience where you have multiple 30-day opt-outs. You know, this situation kind of makes sense because they are going to hire someone in. It takes time to get them trained. That's why I think there's an extended period. Generally, what I've seen in my past is you have 1, 2, 3, 4 days out, or a week here or something, because something is in the works. But I generally haven't seen that many consecutive days. It's more of those one-offs. And so, yeah, that's been my experience. But also, if there were, just know, if there was a situation of sorts and we didn't have an SRO, we call 911. I mean, we don't hesitate. If we need a call, we call. And they know to respond quickly to schools. So that's another reassurance, but. Yeah.
Is it worth our while to try to have a couple people employed by the district as kind of backup personnel in these kind of, I know that it's, obviously it talks about how they're not required to do the same type of training if it's for a certain period of time or whatnot, but I'm just wondering, I don't know what kind of resources would get put into that, but I don't know. Yes.
So I do know that there have been I know of one district that has actually hired, they didn't hire SROs, rather they moved to their own security people that had a different type of training, but they were their employees, they're not law enforcement, they don't arrest people, don't have the capability to do that, and they were trained differently than what other school staff were. They did that. I don't know if that's still in place in that particular district or not. We could look into that. We'd have to think about where we'd find that person, what type of training they're gonna go with, and do you want to have both? Because that's an expense then. And so they're just two different models. Yeah, we could look into that. I'd have to do a little more research to, like I said, see if they're still in place in that district and if it's still in place, how effective, et cetera, that is, you know. And I'd have to learn more about the specific training they went under.
Just to help give you a little peace of mind, when Chief Wilski was describing this to us, it is because of strange circumstances with a retirement and, so they did have someone lined up, hired, ready to go, but then training this new person and is just going to pull too much from their own resources for the city's safety. So I don't think this is going to be something that's going to be ongoing. So I don't know how much worry we need to put into it as far as like, it's going to be 30 days here, it's going to be 30 days there. Like, he didn't make it sound like that was the case. Like, it's just because he needs to do the training for his new officer and can't pull all of these officers off their regular duties in order to have someone here. So I think once everything's in play and everybody's hired and, it'll be smooth sailing. So if that helps.
Vice Chair Driscoll?
And last year we did operate with only one SRO officer, navigating between the two schools, or actually through all of our schools, for years, yes. So the second SRO officer is kind of like an additional, yay, we have another dedicated SRO to be at the middle school and to navigate through the 3 elementary schools also.
And this is kind of a side tangent, but just because I think this is a heightened concern in the community right now, can anybody kind of touch on what kind of training kind of happens in the school for this district in general? Like, do our teachers go through any kind of training? And can you just touch on that so that the community is aware that this is also a thing that we do?
Well, we go through lockdown training, so we have different sort of response mechanisms, and we all have them on that back of our badge of what those responses are. This is through the I Love You Guys training, so we all have common language. So they know if there's an intruder, you're locking doors, you're shutting off lights, you're putting stuff up in front of your door, and if you can flee, you're fleeing, if you're in a position to do that. So we run through those trainings. We have 5 of those drills a year. We also have evacuation drills, like if you had a fire drill, which those kinds of things. We run through those. So again, we had the reunification training so that if in the event there was an situation and we need to evacuate our children to a different site to be then reunited with their parents, what does that process look like so that we're communicating, everybody has a role, it's organized and it's safe. We don't give kids to the wrong people kind of thing. You have to be very careful. So we run through all of those kind of trainings as well. We're in the process of getting this time, I don't know that this district's had it in the past, but actually designing MOUs with those sites so they know that we're coming in the event that this happens, that kind of thing. So working through all of those logistics, and I feel like you do what you can, right, with that. We also have situations where we have CPI training for our special education teachers and paraprofessionals that in the event a student is dysregulated, they know how to safely do you get that student back to regulation. And so we have that training and ongoing as well. So does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments on the contract? I guess my concern is the way that the new language reads is that if they're taken for a period of 30 days or more, then we would stop paying. And I guess my question is why 30 days? It seems like a long time for us to pay for someone who's not in our buildings.
Right, so you can see that's new language because prior to, we paid regardless. And that's, if it wasn't in there and they were gone for 30 days, the intent was that we would pay them. I can tell you in my experience of many years now in education, I've never known, I don't have the answer as to why we would pay if they're not in our building. For example, if they're called out for 2 days for another avenue, everywhere I worked, you still paid them, but you just had your basic contract. You didn't do it by the day. It wasn't paid by the day. So that's how it was paid. And so that's I don't have any other knowledge as to where this all started, the history of that, because it's similar across everywhere I've worked, but it would be more around, it wasn't a daily rate.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if that helps, and I don't know if we can change that. We may be able to have that discussion. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I just think that, and also it doesn't say, it says a period of 30 days. School is Monday through Friday typically. So is this 30 calendar days? Is this 30 work days? Is this, I would appreciate getting clarification on that. I'm assuming it's calendar days. And the other piece that I'm just a little, so when obviously I knew that an update was coming, I guess I thought it was going to be in the form of an addendum to the contract versus putting it right into a contract that we're right in the middle of. And so right now, the contract starts August 1st of 2024, and we're changing the terms halfway through the contract.
So I asked the chief about that because I thought the dates were wrong. Because I didn't realize, so he explained to me it was a part of the 2-year, it already had started. This is in the middle of the 2-year contract. So, and he said they didn't want to change, they didn't want an addendum. They just thought they wanted to add this into the current contract. They didn't want to formulate a new contract. That was the communication to me.
Yeah, to tag on what Carrie said, it in fact does do that. It creates a whole new contract by putting this in there. I mean, it opens it up. It's more of a restatement. I agree. It should have. I mean, it's a formality, but just a pure amendment would have been more appropriate because it seems like they're opening it up for us to renegotiate the rest of the contract if they're kind of placing it in like this. But again, formality.
Okay. So, I don't know. What are others' thoughts on the 30 days? Director Michael Mulder?
Well, I guess my question is, I'm reading it that we're not paying for the period of reassignment, right?
But it's only if it's a period of reassignment for 30 days or more. So if it's 29 days, we're still paying, right? That's how I'm reading it.
Yes, and I'm not sure where like the 30-day came from, because what will happen is the SRO will be in the middle school for the first 2 weeks of school. The SRO will then be pulled off to do policing work while they're training the other law enforcement official, and we will not be charged for anything after those first 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that's what I know, but I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Vice Chair Dressley?
And then we wouldn't pick up being charged again until they're back in the school 5 days a week for those 40 hours that we have in this contract.
Yep.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the 30 days? Just curious. Dr.
Just
Bruns?
clarity around school days or calendar days, because 30 school days can look like 2 months.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Director Michael Mulder?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know, would it be worth asking if they would be willing to lessen that day number, since it seems like 30 days won't practically apply in most situations too? Or what would be our thought there?
So, I mean, I was thinking about this. If we don't vote to approve this tonight, if we do want, the clarification on the calendar days versus the school days, I mean, we can of course make a motion that we approve as long as the word calendar gets written, added to the contract. Assuming they're okay with that, then it would be in effect once the city approves it. If we go back and say that we want other changes or to reduce the 30 days or something, we already have a special session scheduled for September 10th for the MSBA resolutions that we have to vote on. And the new officer will be in the schools at that time, so it would be before they would leave. So we could vote on it that night if we do want to go back to the city with any changes or requests for change. Vice Chair Dressley?
When is the next city council meeting that they plan to vote on this as well? I mean, 'cause that would obviously be
I believe it was the 2nd. I believe their next meeting was when he was hoping to have it approved.
So another just question for my understanding, when it comes to paying these SROs, how does it work? Do they like invoice us? Okay.
So we get 2 invoices. We get for the first half of the year and the second half of the year from the city.
So if something like this were to happen, they would prorate it within the invoice, presumably.
Vice Chair Dressley?
I'd be okay with just changing the language for the calendar days or requesting that be changed and approving the contract, just so we're not like slowing everything or pausing everything, because we agree with we've already agreed to the rest of the contract in a previous vote.
And
Director Miller?
Carrie, I understand your concern with the 30 days, but then also just thinking of the logistics, if an officer did get pulled, that officer has been working on some family situations, some care for kids, some things like that. It's not like they're just going to drop that. So they have to spend extra time, I would assume, updating, like, let's say it's Officer Freeman still left. I think in a sense, they'd almost be still sort of working both jobs. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to have to still communicate with the SRO that's still working. It's not like they just end. I mean, right? Like, they're still doing some things to wrap up and be able to be pulled. And so in a sense, they're still doing some district work while they're pulling away to do what they need to do to update the next person. So if that makes sense, my mind goes that direction too.
Well, so the reason they would be pulled is because the police department decides that they need to be reassigned. So it is like they're making the decision. And so my concern is, right, we're going back to, again, like with the civic arena, we're talking about the tax base and who's paying for this. And so I just, like I said, it seems like 30 days is a very long period of time for us to pay for somebody who's not physically in the building or not doing what contractually we had agreed that they would be doing. So, no, I can concede on the adding the calendar language in there, knowing that the plan is, right, we'll pay for the first 2 weeks of September, and then when they pick up for the rest of the year, and then it's only a few more months left in this contract ultimately at that point. So, all right, any other comments? Okay, so with that, I'll make a motion that we approve the SRO contract with the addition of the word calendar in front of 30 days in section 2F.
30 calendar days, not in front of.
Yeah, 30 calendar days or more. Okay, sorry.
Second, Dressley.
Right, any discussion?
Could I just,
Yeah.
this is something too, since this is now, we're moving into the second half of the contract, so maybe we talk about the next one, we write that very differently maybe, and have that discussion and start it a little bit earlier.
Yep.
Since it seems, maybe like in the spring. And then, okay.
Yep, sounds good. All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously to approve the updated SRO contract with the addition of the word calendar between 30 and days. All right, and last up, we have our HCTV designation for Minnesota State High School League for 2025. Could I get a motion on this item, please?
I make a motion to designate HCTV as our 2025, or HTC TV designation 2025 for the Minnesota State High School League.
Milner seconds.
Any discussion? All right, I just want to say HCTV does an awesome job in helping us get our sports online. Appreciate that. All right, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously to designate HCTV for 2025 for the Minnesota State High School League. All right, and finally up, we have our future meetings. So next up, as was mentioned earlier, the Student School Board Committee is meeting tomorrow. Sorry, I gotta make this bigger. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. And they are meeting in the district office in one of the conference rooms. On September 5th, we have our next policy meeting at noon, again in the district office. And then we have our September 10th, 6 p.m. work session right here in the middle school again. Go ahead.
We are actually missing a September 12th policy meeting at 12 p.m. that it should also be on the calendar.
Okay, thank you for calling that out. At our September work session, I have the vision card report, the principal's report. Is that right? Did we decide September for that or October for the principal's report? I think it was October.
It's October,
I got it on the wrong month, sorry.
It's okay.
And then we have our MSBA resolutions, of course, joint powers agreements, hopefully, that one's TBD. And then what did we mention earlier tonight? Sorry, I'm spacing. That we were going to talk about, school perceptions questions with Darren Sievers. Okay, so that is what's on the docket for our September 10th work session. As Vice Chair Dressley mentioned, we have a 9/12 policy meeting and we also have a 9/19 policy meeting. Both of those are at noon, correct, or no?
That is correct. And I also want to mention we do not have a 10/17 policy committee meeting.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We moved it because it's MEA. So, right. Okay, so lots of policy meetings coming, 3 of them in a row. Excited. And then, of course, we have our September 24th regular board meeting, which will also be right here. And then we will be welcoming our new student school board members. And we will have our year-end vision card report for the public. And then hopefully, again, we'll be voting on those joint powers agreements. So that's all I have right now. Anybody have anything else?
Just one point of clarification, and hate to go back to the whole SRO. I just wanted to clarify that my concern about the 30-day is not to make sure that the police department can't pull people for proper use or whatever. It's just dealing with the concern of how do we make sure that we have proper coverage at the school. And if we have to get a third party at some point, it's just a budget item. So I didn't want to sound inconsiderate to the police department. I'm just making it clear that we also have to make sure that we're covered here too. So just clarifying that.
Thank you. All right, anything else? And I would like to comment, thank you for folks for being flexible and having this meeting start at 7 p.m. to accommodate the Hastings High School open house. It was wonderful to attend. So, all right, and with that, I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Milner seconds.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes unanimously to adjourn at 8:20 p.m. Thank you.
One of these times.